You believe that you're looking at a cow pasture, right? No, it's not, This is a football field. This is a place of recreation for the youths and the community members of West End in the St. Margaret's Bay Division of Western Portland. This is what they have to play on. So some of you that live in luxury, look at what some of the rural area kids have to deal with. This is the community center of West Portland we're talking about. Some people call it for them land. But this is what we're talking about. If this is your land, so you take care of your people. This is the community center. No roof. The center is padlocked, not accessible to the residents. At no point, this is where the basic school is also located now. Just lower down where the field is where the basic school is. And this is the community center. Look at this room, filled with nothing but water. From when rainfall, the water cannot drain, so it just sits there, becomes stagnant, breed mosquitoes. Look at the community center of West End. It's West Portland we're talking about, Western Portland, where some people say it's for them land.
Welcome again to the channel, Life with Jennifer JM. I am your girl, Auntie Jen. My viewers, my friend, and my subscriber. What a mess, what a mess, what a mess. But I want to say to some of you, sometimes you have a big platform for, and you have the tech, you have the, the thing for make it look, the real tech. Some people ignore you, some people not paying no mind. That's always life. Don't go over a platform may have one heap of people pay attention to. But one thing that you all can agree with me with is this. We want to see him like a channel, anything we say, it come to pass. We not wait for nothing. We can't just sit through the eye of a needle. Did it I told you that what Andrew Holiness was saying in regards to Jamaica physical death and who are baby and who have the DNA and all them foolishness there, and the history lesson when him and Flavor come to Parliament for come tell the Jamaican people, but they miss the part of the puzzle, they not talk it. Well, I'm here to share with you, listening to Ralston Hyman and Colin Bell reasoning the truth. I want you to take some time out and to listen to who are the real baby father for this country, Jamaica. Take a listen to this.
The presentation of the Prime Minister on Thursday, and I'll tell you why you tell me if I have reasons to feel that way. The Prime Minister did not tell us anything about SSL. The Prime Minister did not tell us anything about the CCJ. The Prime Minister did not tell us anything about his statutory filing. And the Prime Minister did not talk about the Cuban situation with the doctors and nurses. I feel disrespected. You think I have reason?
Yeah, man.
Reasons?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think those are fair comments?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. And him also tell a whole heap of lie. So him spend most of the time. First thing him disrespectful by talking for so long. So say him PR team don't know about public relations. People's attention span now go beyond 60 or 90 minutes. Then he tell us a whole heap of lie about
minutes.
Huh?
5 hours and odd.
Yeah.
What can go so?
That alone demonstrates incompetence. And then he told a whole heap of lie about Jamaica's economic history, wasting people's time. And then he omitted those most important things that he said. So if he was really serious and respect to the country, the first thing we're going to talk about is the statutory declarations and tell us when they are going to be certified. Then he would have proceed to talk about things in relation to Marco Rubio thing about the Cuban people. They will tell us about the CCJ.
Hold on. Oh, you talk for 5 hours and change, and you don't talk about that issue where we have what? Over 400 Cuban doctors we have on the island?
Yeah, man. And without them, the sector would collapse. It showed that it collapsed. It showed that him totally out of touch, and it was just a propaganda statement. We spend most of the time lying to the country about the country's economic system.
He admitted to Ralston that there's no growth.
Yeah, man. That can't go around. The numbers don't tell any lie. So, yeah, the numbers are there to show it.
I was shocked when I heard him say that we have had 2 quarters of decline, but we are going to recover. And him never go for him. I was waiting for him to say, but we are not in a recession. Him never say it, Ralston.
No, I can't say that because I know say I look even more stupid than you.
So what happened to all those clowns now who were saying that we are not in a recession?
Well,
what are they saying now?
All them do expose themselves. Yeah, all them do and them also expose themselves because the Prime Minister made a whole lot of promises, none of which are written in the yellow budget book. But them never asked him how it is going to be financed. When Mark Holiness finished speaking and them couldn't board a whole time thing, all them could have said is how it would be financed.
Right.
Nobody now asked the Prime Minister how the things that he said would be financed, although none of them is written in the yellow book.
All right.
So again, it shows how them expose themselves, the so-called analysts.
All right.
So I them on TV last night, I tell you how it can lead to growth and all that can lead to this and it leads to that. So clown them.
Hold on now. Let me break this down. None of what Mark Holiness said was written in the yellow book. How it is going to be paid for?
All right. So if they were a real analyst, the definition of an analyst is somebody who uses data in order to draw conclusions. So when the Minister of Finance, whoever he, she is, tables the budget, they table the big yellow book, then they table the smaller book, the revenue estimates,
yes.
Then they table the medium-term debt management strategy,
yeah.
They table also the expenditure report, and they also table what is called a fiscal policy paper, which was something that was developed under the fiscal rules. Now, that is the most important budget document because it tells you where the government is going, what are the forecasts going down the road.
Yes.
Now, if they had real analysts and they read page 12, part 2 of the fiscal policy paper, they'd have seen that GDP, which is the total, what teach them this morning, total market value of all final goods and services produced in Jamaica. Nominal GDP, that's GDP before adjustment for inflation, is programmed at $3.482 trillion this year. And in 28-29, it is programmed at $4.182 trillion, which means that the government is anticipating a $700 billion increase in nominal GDP over the period. Now, if they were real analysts, they would have realized that tax revenues represent 27% of GDP on average. So it means that the government is forecasting that they'll be collecting $242 billion in additional taxes without raising tax rates over the next 4 years.
An additional $242 billion.
Billion, yeah.
Without any new taxes.
Without any new taxes.
Right.
Correct.
But now, the people are going to be paying more taxes.
Yeah.
Right.
But there will be no new taxes. All of that will come from the movement in GDP from 3.482 trillion to 4.182 trillion.
Right.
You follow me?
Yes.
We're talking about nominal GDP. Now, if they were real analysts, they would have also read page 20, part 3 of the fiscal policy paper, which says that the government, any government, can run a fiscal deficit on average of 1.3% of GDP over the next 4 years and still hit the 60% debt to GDP ratio by the prescribed time.
Right.
So, for example, why favor at this 9-10 billion this year? Because you know in the fiscal policy paper, they program that they are going to run a deficit of 0.3% of GDP this year. That's 10.45 billion. Next year, they're going to run a deficit of 0.9% of GDP. That's 33 billion. The year after, they're going to run a deficit of 0.9% of GDP. Again, that's 35 billion. And the year after, they're going to run a deficit of 0.1% of GDP. That's 4.182 billion. So all told, the government can run a deficit of 84 billion over the next 4 years and still stay within the fiscal rules.
So
you have the total.
All that Mark Holding were planning is still less than the 84 billion.
A whole heap of money less. That's one. And additionally, right now, this government has some 359.4 billion in discretionary recurrent expenditure. If the government is changed, as Mark Williams says, the people are not going to elect him to run the same JP policy.
No, not at all.
So he can use that 359.4 billion to fund his priorities because his priorities are not the same
as this government.
priority. Right. So you have the 242 billion in additional taxes, you have the 359.4 billion, and you have the 84 billion. So there's over 700 billion in revenues to play with to deal with what he has to deal with.
For the next 5 years.
Yeah, there are no analysts. There are clowns.
So Ralston, so even the things that Andrew said can also be paid for.
Right. But they never asked him what he's going to pay for it and make him decide it.
No, because they
That's
want
the difference.
Because they are afraid of asking him any question, but they want Mark.
No, I don't think they're afraid. Apart from there are two reasons. They're afraid and they are very biased.
No, why they are afraid? If you're a labor right, you can't try and make the leader of the GLP look bad.
Precisely.
So you must be afraid to ask him the questions.
Precisely.
No, Ralston, all of this money we are talking about going forward, let's look back. How much of these monies were available before now?
Well, the money that they're talking about that is available in the future is based on their forecast of 1% economic growth. So if you said 2% economic growth, that money would double. If you said 3% economic growth, that money would triple.
Hold on, break down. But hold on a little bit. Still want to step back, Ralston. Because why I want to step back? Our roads are in deplorable condition. Our schools are run down. Our hospitals are run down. And I am saying to the people of Jamaica that this government had money that them could have do a better job with all the infrastructure of this country than they have done. Am I right?
Because they misallocated the funds. The man who them said the greatest finance minister, are the most concerned, and still they are still not showing that. All he was concerned about was paying down the debt before time, and that's still their priority.
Listen, man, I'm so proud of Ralston coming out, speaking truth, make people hear the real history lesson, so people can understand. Oh, really, me say the people that used to feel everything. People me telling them time and time again on this channel, and here we are getting somebody who work first and giving the experience. So, no, listen to Andrew Holiness. No, listen to Andrew Holiness and Flavor. No, listen to the truth. Because you can do nothing against the truth, but for the truth, so help me God. Listen to this.
Built out places like the Bank of Jamaica, Planning Institute of Jamaica, which they are abusing now. And that laid the foundation for the growth of the Jamaican economy that spilled over into the 1960s.
Right.
In the 1960s, when they took over in 1962, the economy was recording growth of 6 and 7 and 8%. But none of it went to the poor people. No housing, no education, everybody illiterate, and all of those things, right? Michael Malley came in 1972. The country was almost on the brink of a revolution. People like Junior Biles and them man, they sing, I'm going to beat down Babylon. Delmar Wilson sing, Better Must Come and all of them things.
All of them tune.
Yep. So Michael come and say, well, we have to deal with them problem here, the illiteracy and the housing and all of those things.
Right.
Then fight Michael in conjunction with the CIA and all of them people. But even when them said Michael was reckless fiscally, when Michael left, the debt to GDP is where they are trying to get back in order, 60%. You hear me? Which part we are trying to get back in terms of debt to GDP?
At 1979 or 80.
Yeah. Despite all the fight that Michael gave for the social revolution that helped to create people like Andrew Wallace in terms of education and all of them things.
Right.
The debt to GDP was only 60%.
60%.
When Mr. Seaga, the great minds that took over in 1980, when he was leaving office in 1989, the debt to GDP was 262%. And him said, what? Yeah, follow me.
The Prime Minister never talked about that. He never mentioned that.
He never want people to know that.
Never mentioned
that. He was a little boy. He must maybe go about 10 years old them time. The guy born 1973 or something like that.
But him know the history, Ralston.
Yeah, man, I know, but
so he's lying by omission.
Yep. So, one thing that Mr. Seaga said when he lost the election, that his greatest regret was that he never have what he call a social well-being program, no social revolution. So when he leave all over at debt to GDP of 262%, the country new have nothing to show for it. Yeah? Seaga's own words. Yeah?
So let's go to the 90s now, because...
Yeah, man, up comes Omar Davis.
Hold on, before Omar, Ralston, because in which year inflation got to 80%?
1991.
1991. That's less than 2 years after the PNP took government.
Yeah, man.
So
So
that
them have all of this backup to deal with. And that's why I finished the history. So when Siaga was leaving, here Andrew tell about 550. Siaga had this bogus auction, yeah, where them used to tell people so them not to come at the auction and all of them stuff. So you have all of this backup. That's why even the man them in the US, Timothy Ashby and them man that said Siaga was like a con man because it was a bogus auction. So when they come and tell about 550, that was just bogus. Yeah? So when them lose office, the dollar dropped from 550 to $7 and change. And when he was going, leaving, him go over Bank of Jamaica and tell the people, them say, they'll have a break loose. So here's the opposition leader, who's the government, the prime minister, who's the finance minister, going to the Bank of Jamaica and telling the staff that they'll have a break loose. So when man of them come in,
So
the
he
dollar
knew what was coming?
Yeah, of course, because I him leave it.
Right.
I him leave the time back. Yeah? So when Mike come now, everything break loose and the money up for IDB and IMF say, boy, better just liberalize the foreign exchange market. So the dollar dropped from 7, it was in September them did that. The dollar dropped from 7 to 21, and that is how you got the 8% inflation. Up comes Omar Davies. At that time we had no reserves. Reserves were minus, when I talk about reserves, reserves were minus 500 million.
He no mention that.
No, I want to
Things
people
the
know.
prime
Like you did
hold on, Randstad. Listeners, things that the Prime Minister leave out of the history lesson that he gave by omission. Talk to me, Ralston.
Right. So up comes Omar now and
Omar Davis became Minister of Finance what year?
1992.
1992.
Yeah, so him come see all of them problems. Yep. So Omar come now and hike the interest rates in order to stabilize the situation. And when the country had this liberalization, the Banking Act was never amended and up to date to deal with the situation. We had no reserves. So Omar couldn't intervene in the foreign exchange market like what you answer say, with the intervention by the BOJ, because there was no reserves.
Right, nothing to intervene, to assist.
Nothing to intervene.
They left the cupboard bare.
Bare, as usual. All right. Inflation was 8.6% when Omar came in. Poverty was 34%. Unemployment was 25%. By the time Omar left, the reserve 2007 reached now. The reserves were 2.4 billion. So from minus 500 to 2.4 billion. That is an increase of almost $3 billion. You come from minus, not zero now. Minus, you're underneath water.
Right. You're old.
Yep. All right. Inflation was 5%. Poverty dropped from 34% to 9%. Unemployment dropped from 25% to 9%. Yeah? Omar Davies are the first, Mr. Siaga couldn't pass no IMF test. Omar Davies are the first finance minister in Jamaica that passed 12 consecutive IMF tests. 12 straight IMF tests. The team was Omar Davies, Shirley Tyndall, Derek Latibodier. That was the IMF negotiating team at that time. 12 consecutive tests, paid off the IMF in 1995 and went on a staff monitoring program. You follow me? 2007 September, PNP lost the election, the LP coming up power. Shaw, Ed Bartlett tell people that the Great Recession will help Jamaica because more tourists will come at Jamaica. Me asked Ronnie when he go to my parliament to ask the Prime Minister if they now go to the IMF. The Prime Minister at that time, Bruce Golding, told Ronnie that going to the IMF was neither necessary nor appropriate.
Right.
So
hold on now, listeners and viewers, I want to get this because this is a wish part now, Jamaica economic crash. And this now, we are going to take you now to who really own the baby of economic stability. So, 2008 we did our rally.
Yeah, man. Then they are spin run. That time, Barack Obama, Gordon Brown, Tim Geithner, Warren Buffett, all them money run up and down over the world and say, how we're going to deal with this problem because it's one of the biggest problems since 1933.
Yes.
Then they are telling people them saying everything alright, nothing wrong.
So it was Bruce Golding, Shaw, and Ed Bartlett that tell us that the world recession would not affect Jamaica.
Yeah, man, I'm going to the IMF neither necessary nor appropriate, yeah? Right. So, fast forward originally in 2009 now, the net international reserves of Omar Billup dropped from 2.4 billion to under a billion.
Under a billion?
Yeah. The economy declined by 5%. 100,000 people lose them jobs. Then them say, them finally are going to IMF. We ended with the same director to plan people that advisor to Shaw at that time. Dennis Strong to all them money we say put and ask we should get a second chance. I chat up them out now. Yeah. So 2009 fast forward November now the IMF team start come down. about 10 o'clock the Friday morning, Central Bank come and 3 o'clock the money and call me and say, yo, Rastan, them say, if you clean out my desk by 3 o'clock, you know, then fire Central Bank come and 3 o'clock the money, the only man who knew anything about IMF.
When was that? November 2009.
November of 2009, the man called me 10 o'clock and said, them artists saying to clean out the desk by 3 o'clock because people can't roll around one pen. Yep. And I saw them getting it out till February 2nd, 2010, them get an agreement. Them go and them take the wrong agreement. Them never know which agreement to take. Them take a 27-month standby arrangement. IMF, World Bank, IDB give them 2.4 billion upfront.
Cash.
Upfront. Give them the money cash and say, we don't need to do this, we don't need to do that, we don't need to do that. Them only do the first test and them never do anything at all that they promised to do after that. Julian, who was the head of the Caribbean Development Bank come to recently, he was the IMF president representative in Jamaica. And when we used to call him and said, so Gene, what about the IMF agreement? Gene used to say, Rasta, these fellas can't give anything sensible to take to the IMF board.
They couldn't cross it. Nothing.
Couldn't cross it, none at all. Yeah? And that's for the country, but we can't get no money, and that.
Right.
Them abandon it. As the IMF man, them say them never know until them write them and say them abandon the agreement because they can't test them, they can't test and them say, we don't have school again.
Also, 2011, the government decided to abandon the IMF.
Abandon, just as you Julian read out.
At what cost to Jamaica? How did that cost?
Significant costs were locked out of the international capital markets. Real GDP declined by 5%. Yeah? 100,000 people lose their job. The country net international reserves were under $1 billion. The fiscal deficit was 6.75% of GDP. The overall public sector deficit was 10.75% of GDP. The current account deficit was 18% of GDP, one of the highest in the world, and the debt to GDP ratio was 147%. Not 135% that they were telling you about.
7%.
Yep.
Debt to GDP.
Right. Yep. The people at the IMF and say, yo, let them boy the feel, because them are going like them are disrespect big man, them take money up front. Because remember, I said the IMF money are world money, you know.
Yes.
Are people money from the rest of the world.
American
everybody,
money, UK money.
Yeah. Everybody put up them quota. American money, UK money. IMF have over 100 members, over 100 people money and take away. So the man must say, yo, them boys don't let them a bad man, so you know what, I'll punish them. Yeah? And make them feel.
Tell us about the JDX.
Hold on, man, when I reach this yet, man.
Well, and in 2011 they bring in JDX.
Yeah, well, them have to do a JDX. No, part of the agreement was to get the JDX, so they must say, yo, cut the debt ratio, so you cut the amount of money we pay back on government debt and all. That was part of the agreement with them do. Yeah? Right. So all them things end up in a failure. Right. So after them do not know I'll get locked out and the economy start run down. Pusha come now and Pusha have to call Maxine Waters because the man must say, yo, make them boy the field because my boy
not talk to it. So country to country we couldn't get no talk from the IMF.
No, because everybody follow what IMF say. If IMF say nothing lending no money, nobody not lending no money.
Right, so neither the IMF, IDB, World Bank would take a call. They would take a call from Peter Phillips coming from the office of the Minister of Finance in Jamaica.
Yeah, man. No, man, take this call. And we even start talking and take the call as the man said it was a dialogue of the debt. You are talking to the man now, listen to the man say, we look boy and I'm all like son and some bad man and this big man. You see me, I said, yeah? Yeah. So, I show now, Pusha now, I have to call Maxine Waters, who a big part of the Black Caucus, and say, yo, Christine Lagarde then became the managing director of the IMF.
Yvette Clark and them people.
Yeah, go take Christine for
and let me just remind people that there's a documentary out on this. There's a video out with Yvette Clark and those people telling us about they had to even go check Obama and beg Obama to call Christine Lagarde to even get a talk.
Yeah,
so
man.
These are not Ralston's argument or Ralston's side of the story. There's a video out there upon this, Ryan. Go check it. Continue, Ralston.
We can't talk because he was part of the negotiating. Them kind of over the Minister of Finance and work on thing all Christmas. All of them boys we are chatting them out. Them never did it. We were the Minister of Finance. Now, what do you think he talk for?
Talk to me.
Because the man them say, all right.
So
After the man them finally agree now.
Hold on, Ralston. When the GLP lost the election in 2012, what was Jamaica's position? You said the debt to GDP was 147%.
147%.
What
The
was
fiscal
the
deficit.
reserve at that time?
Under $1 billion. The fiscal deficit was 6.75% of GDP. The overall public sector deficit was 10.75% of GDP. The current account deficit, the amount of money that we owe to the world, was 18% of GDP at the time.
Yeah.
100,000 people lose their work. The economy declined by 5%.
Okay.
Yeah?
All right. So we were in tatters.
Yeah, man. Everything wrecked. Let me tell you. And the man said, we're not talking to them.
Hold on, man. I don't want to get to the fix yet, because Andrew said that this thing started, the revolution started under Bruce Golding. Tell me, what did they do?
Them sign
this?
and simple. Them sign and tell the man them say them all do them thing. They take the man them money and never do nothing.
Yeah, man, we get all of that. But after 2000,
yeah, so there was no revolution. That's the point I'm making here. It's line. There was no revolution.
Hold on, Ralston, man. So May 2011, I think is when we step out of the IMF deal. May.
Yeah.
Right. So for that year, because the last election, what, February 2012?
Yeah, man.
It's February? I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember for February.
Alright, December 2011. Now we take on 2012.
Yeah, man.
So you are saying that no fiscal policies was developed under Bruce Golding?
I'm saying them tell the IMF that them are going to do them thing there and they never do it. That is why the man them policy are lock us out of the international capital market. So them take the man and money up front and promise to do those things and never need anything.
All right. Let's get this. Let's go to Portia.
Yeah.
Let's go to Portia.
All right. So when the man them know and them agree with Portia say, we're going to help Jamaica really because of vaccine and all of them things there.
Yeah.
The man them said, you know, I have to make sure say what them they do never happen again. That is why EPOC was formed.
Right.
So watch the government and to ensure the government live up to the commitments that the JLP administration, of which Andrew was a part of, never lived up to. Right. Yeah? So the man them say EPOC have a broad base represent everybody because you know, the debt exchange, make the man them lose their money and then them never continue to carry out the rest of the agreement. So we are going to do another debt exchange, but this time we now make it go the way it go. So we're going to make sure we have people from the private sector, that is why you got Biles and Zaka and you from that me was representing the workers and all of those things. Donovan Wignall from the MSME Alliance represented small business. We had Norman Grant who represented the farmers. Everybody in Jamaica was to ensure that the new PMP administration never did what the JLP administration did.
All right.
Nobody expected us to succeed for past 10 consecutive tests.
Before we reach the test.
Listen to me good. If you all listen to this and you can't understand it no more, then I don't know what else anybody can do for people to understand. Jamaica Labour Party is not the father. They are not the father, people. And you can look at the whole conversation over Portland Spice and Colin Bell show. You can go over there and listen in its entirety. They are not the father. They inherit what the PMP fix and come now and can ride high and a brag and boast. The country was in a mess. I'm old enough to tell you. And I'm telling you the truth and not on a political bias. So my viewers, my friend, and my subscriber, after I hear this, tell me what you think. Tell me what you think. Who is really the father? Who is really the father? What is the result of the paternity test that Andrew come and brag and boast about? Leave on a view, leave a comment. Like, share, subscribe to the channel Life with Jennifer JM. And even at the first of the clip where you see me showing that Doreen was showing up at West Portland. The condition of the vast land up there. Not even the football field where they put them for play pan. The place is a mess. I saw them always mess up the place. And PMP have to come back and fix it. You know what? Catch you the next time here. Leave on a comment, you know, because this conversation continue, because I want to hear from you. I want to say if you understand that when we come out and attack, we're not fabricating nothing, we're not telling a lie. Catch you the next time. Bye.